Yo, man. Welcome to another episode of Locker Room Talk, man. I'm your boy, Big Preezy, up in this thing, man. And I'd like to introduce my team, Ray and Mimi. What's going on, y'all, man?
What's up?
Yes.
Yes, hello.
Hey, Mimi,
Y'all look.
get that right, man.
Yeah,
Y'all gotta get right,
no
man. We've been
energy.
preparing for this, man. Come
Yes.
on.
Okay, I'm excited, baby. I'm excited. Oh my God.
Exactly. And the boy got the new hairdo. Think he just hot shit right now.
Nah, yeah. You know, the hair don't have to be done for me to think I'm hot shit. Did not have to be done. I think I'm hot shit like way too much.
Okay, Mr. Kanye.
Right? That's a hot mess. Oh Lord.
Oh man, but shout out to BEAKON Radio, man, for our sponsors, man. Shout out to them and everything, man. Before I introduce my guests, I want to shout y'all out with a quote of the day. I can't accept failure. Everyone fails at something, but I can't accept not trying. By the GOAT, Michael Jordan, not
Okay.
LeBron James.
Oh.
The GOAT.
Why do we have to start with this?
I'm
Okay,
just
so
saying.
I love that quote because you cannot accept not trying, right? Like
Yeah.
you can accept failure, but see the thing is when you do try, if you do fail, you still get something out of it. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You learn something. So I respect Jordan and his fire on that one. He has the most fire of any NBA player I've seen, but he is not the best player ever.
Come on now.
It is
The
LeBron
last day
James.
he had to shut y'all. He had to shut y'all the hell up.
Yeah, man, he's really good at that, bullying his teammates and all. But that's all good. You know,
He's a sniper. That was snipers too.
yeah, and that he's one of the best. He is the best scorer and best when it comes to like having that winner gene and knowing how to be present in the moment. Like, but I'm gonna tell you, man, the reason why LeBron James 9 straight finals, even though he didn't win them all, he never even like lost. You know, he never even had Hall of Famers on his team. So this is the thing but that debate, you know, can go on and on.
Yeah. He already lost one with me, so. It's all good, so.
And I'm gonna give you this one because this is a quote from Jordan, and you know, being the GOAT, he's the GOAT of that generation. So I will never take anything from him, and he has the best sneakers ever. So like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
That's the way I feel.
Well, let's go on and introduce our guest, man.
Yeah.
This lady right here, man, I've been trying to get her on the show for months and months and months. Every time I ask, I'm gonna do it. Then as soon as I ask, I got something else planned. You know, I gotta do something.
It was true,
but she's a hard worker, man. She does women empowerment. She has her own business, man. And you know what I'm saying, she's a model, has her own business, and she does it all, man. She's a triple threat, man. So let's give it up for the owner of BBK Studios, Karina. What's going on?
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Not much.
It's a long
Just
time coming.
Yes. Just glad to have you on, man. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to get you on for a minute and everything. So, one thing I want to start with you, Karina, man. Just introduce yourself. You know, tell us a little about yourself. How did you get into fitness? Because I know fitness plays a big part with
for
you.
sure.
You know, and everything. So, how did you get into it?
Well, I got into fitness because I was overweight when I was a teenager. And I really honestly didn't know anything about fitness, but I knew everything about weight loss. So I lost weight. I went from like a size 13 to like a size 2 in a couple years, basically just starving myself. And I thought that I was healthy. You know, I was like, all right, I'm skinny, I'm healthy. But I went to this Zumba class, and I just got my ass kicked. Like, I was seeing stars, and I realized, like, okay, I'm not healthy. Like, yes, I'm skinny, but I'm not healthy. And then around that same time, I started like fainting randomly, and I didn't know that I had anemia. So I started having like a lot of health problems.
Right.
And then so I went to the Zumba class, and I just loved the energy. It was all women, and it was like music that I liked, and I just kind of realized, like, all right, well, I mean, if I'm gonna want to live a healthy life, I have to address like the issues that are happening inside first.
Right.
And I think just like the fitness really helped me realize that health has a big part to do with your mental health. And then I found that in the gym and in workouts, especially group workouts, I was able to really channel into like the issues that I had inside that led me to be overweight and then underweight. So ever since then, it's just become like a real passion of helping people realize that the health part comes from something that's stemming inside.
Was there a lot of insecurities when you was growing up, far as
Yeah,
your
for
weight
sure.
and everything?
I think a lot of it was too because I was always like the heavier friend,
Right.
you know, and kids like they don't,
Tease and
yeah,
yeah, you
bullying,
bullying.
and I was always the heaviest girl on the
Right.
soccer team and
Right.
the heaviest cousin, and
Right.
so I think after a while I just was like, okay, now I want to be the skinniest person,
Right.
and that just led me to like this dark hole. And,
So
yeah.
how did that basically affect your body when you started doing that, as far as starving yourself and
I remember the number one thing was just no energy.
right.
Like I would wake up feeling tired, be tired all day, sleep till like 12 p.m. and I think that drove me into like a depression too because I had really no enthusiasm for living. I just wanted to sleep. I was like, if I'm not asleep, like I'm not happy. And
Right.
so yeah, that's something that I realized that's most people are dealing with when they come to me as a trainer
Right.
or a group class. I'm like, all right, well, I know you're here for weight loss, but what got you to this place in the first place?
Right.
So I think breaking that down for people has become like the biggest part of like the passionate side of like
Right.
being in the health industry.
And you grow more confidence after you start losing weight and start, taking better care of yourself.
Yes,
and all
for
that.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and everything. Now, far as you are a personal trainer, how long you been personal training for?
In February, it's going to be 4 years.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
a little bit over 3 years.
Wow.
And I like the personal training because the group training or the group classes, I don't really get that connection as much with someone, but the personal training is very intense. So I've had clients who have like full blown cried on me, and you become like their therapist in a way. Like they tell you things that they don't tell their own family, and
Right.
you really build like this deep connection with them. Just something that I really like now.
Have you had any clients that really had low confidence in themselves, like far as you have to build up, and they was overweight, but it seemed like they keep trying, they still can't get where they want to be. How did you encourage those clients?
I think at some point, like I don't like to, because when they barely get to know me, I feel like they're not comfortable enough to get
Right.
to that point. But if we're not getting results, there has to be a conversation. So this last client that I had, we were training for like a month, and she was losing no weight.
Right.
So I was like, all right, it's time
Right.
for like the talk, you know. So
Right.
I just sat her down, and I was like, hey, I usually just tell them like, you deserve happiness.
Right.
And I'll look at them in the eye and tell them like, what's going on? Like, tell me what's going on. And then it's almost tears like every time, So I think building the relationship first, till they're at a point where they're comfortable with me enough to tell me what's really going on has been like the major thing. And I saw you and Raquel, how
Right.
you were before,
Right.
and
Right.
yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with building up the personal relationship first. You can't just
Yeah.
hit them head on with like, tell me
Exactly.
everything about your personal life, because
Exactly.
people aren't ready for that yet.
Exactly.
Shout out Raquel. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Hey Rags, man.
Yeah.
She's impressive.
Yeah, and
Yes,
Raquel,
I didn't know
she.
that you were that size before.
Yeah, it took a while, and she was on my ass 24/7, and like I said, she stayed on me as far as my meals and everything, and helped me work out. I mean, it was a process because I was stubborn as shit. And I thought,
Yeah, we get a lot of those clients,
yeah, exactly,
for sure.
so she had to work with me, man, and I told her, I said, stay on my ass, but I'm laying off, stay on me. That's the only way I'm gonna learn. If you take it easy on me, I'm gonna just run over
Right,
you.
right.
You gotta stay on me and everything. So, I mean, but I'm gonna get down to the BBK. Cause I've been seeing you, like, as far as Instagram and everything, you've been doing your thing. Now,
Yeah.
tell me what BBK stand for.
It stands for my legal business name, which is Body by Karina.
Okay.
And
That's what's up.
once I got new trainers under me, we talked about like changing the name, but everyone seemed to like it, so we just stayed with it, and
Oh, that's
it's
dope.
become like this thing, like we say like BBK Babes and BBK Squad, and
Right.
we joke around with it and stuff. So it kind of just started off with like, okay, the easiest thing I can think of, and now it's like this like little term of endearment we have with each other.
Right. Now, how did that all come about? Why did you want to start your own business, your own studio?
Well, I was working in another studio for I think like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And I got to this point where I wanted to like change so many things. I was like, we should do this, and we should do that, and we should do this. And I was
Yeah.
like, but realistically, this is her spot. I can't come in and tell her how to run her business. So I was like, all right, it's time to like branch off. And we talked about it because we're also Herbalife coaches.
Right. Okay.
So it's kind of like part of the the marketing of like the net. I forgot what they call it.
Network marketing.
Yeah, network marketing to
Yeah.
branch off. So I was like, all right, well, let me go to another city and then get as many girls there. And then when I was training at Fit Nation, I was already personal training from Norwalk to Pico Rivera, where the other studio was. Right. So it was like back and forth, and then eventually I realized like I could probably just do this on my own and start small. And you know, I got her blessings to do it, and her name is Jeanette. She mentored me a lot. Nice. And Art mentored me a lot too, as far as becoming a business owner. Right. And yeah, it kind of just was like almost like an overnight decision, I think. Like, all right, let's do it. You know, like once I saved enough money, I just kind of like pulled the trigger. And I have a huge family. Yeah. So we did everything ourselves. We painted, we put the floors. Yeah. Like it's really like a family project. I can see pink your favorite color. Yeah, right? Yeah. I see everything pink up and down. Super girly, you know. Yeah. I feel like all the gyms are so manly. Right. But I kind of wanted like this space for us just to be girly girls. And, so is BBK only for girls or? It's not specifically. Like I'll have 1 or 2 male clients. But I think when a guy comes into the studio and they see everything's pink and like we're like, you know, that they're kind of turned off to the idea. Okay. But yeah, men are definitely like they feel maybe a little like, I don't know. Like, but yeah, we have so mainly here and there. Okay. Yeah. I would say like once every 2 months we'll get like a guy client, but they don't come back too often. But they're welcome for sure. Okay. Yeah. So what does BK? What y'all specialize in as far as your training? What do you actually do as far as your classes? What type of classes do you teach? We definitely specialize in dance fitness. Okay. So it's very similar to Zumba, but in Zumba you're not allowed to use high intensity. Okay. Because they want it to be like for all fitness levels. Right. So we have things like we incorporate kickboxing and plyometrics and HIIT. And because I'm a trainer, we incorporate weight training and toning and all kinds of stuff. But it's really centered around like the music, because I feel like, you know, the music is key, even at the gym. Like if the music's not on point, the workout's not the same. Right. Yeah. So we definitely specialize in dance fitness, and I think because everybody needs cardio. Right. You know, cardio is good. Cardio is #1 for your heart health first, and it's the key to weight loss. So it's like this way to incorporate cardio without dreading it, because I hate the treadmill. I can't do it. Yep, all of us stand aligned with that. I don't even run like it either, man. I go on it just to run, but I found out now I like running outside more. Yeah, it gets just boring. Yeah, you know. Then you're thinking about like, okay, how much time has passed, and like 30 seconds has passed. Yeah, and, you know, so I think that's like the thing that we focus on the most is the dance fitness. And probably like the booty workouts. Yeah, I see the twerk classes going on. I forgot about the twerk classes. There's nothing wrong with that, man. Hey, you got. I love the twerk classes. I mean, twerk classes. Yeah, that's a workout too, man. Yeah, I love that class because I feel like it really helps women find like their sexiness without feeling so ashamed. You know, because. And being like in a box, like that male gaze box. Yeah. Instead they have their own box. It's like women empowerment, body empowerment, because the male gaze has completely put women in a box for so long, and that's not right. You know what I mean? So I like when I see it, especially when they own it. You know what I mean? And we can appreciate it. Also gives it a narrative too, because like a lot of times you can like post something like a booty pic or whatever, right? But if you don't put a story behind it or have an intention behind it, you know, you just end up being like a thought provocateur in the THO. What I mean by thought provocateur is THOT instead of a thought provocateur, which is THOUGHT. Yeah. See what I'm saying? And you can do that with both images, depending on the context you give. You know what I mean? I had a good friend that kind of broke that whole like. I guess that what would be? What is if you use thought and thought? Is that like a double entendre or what is that? Where you use? I don't know. So no, don't look at my face right now. Shout out to the Empress. She gave me. She was super smart. She's just like a person that creates content online, and so she's like she has these classes, and she said, and she has little girls in the classes, and she says, "Do you want to be a thought, provocateur or a thought provocateur?" And so
those without context, you know what I mean?
So you say it's a message behind twerking your ass.
Yes. Yes. And when women,
really
when they have a bunch of women like learning to like love themselves in their own gaze, and then doing something that is also attractive to the world, like people number one have to now respect it. They can't put it in some box of saying, oh, you're a slut, or oh, you're whatever, right? They're like, oh, you know what, even though you're doing that and I love that, I'm still gonna approach you with respect now, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas other places, they just put them in a box. They're like, oh, I'm not gonna like listen to what she gotta say or anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for
so
sure.
Is it sort of like the classes, like the pole dancing classes that women
Oh man, I wish I was on that girl's level, man. That stuff's hard. I've gone to a couple classes, and the body strength that you need, like, to get up that pole is intense, you know?
Yeah, you need to hold yourself up with your upper body.
You have J-Lo arms.
Yeah.
And you have to have the face.
Right.
You know, like
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, but
the face.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, you know.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that was
Did I just do that face and y'all saw that? Oh, damn.
And it seems like that pole will burn the hell out of your thighs going down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's crazy, man, and all that, man. But yeah, now I see as far as the pandemic, it hit real hard as far as the situation, what's going on in today's society. How hard did it affect you and your business as far as BBK?
It hit us hard. It hit me hard, I think, emotionally more than anything, because it's like, you know, you work so hard to build this place to call your home, and to call yourself a boss, and like, you know, I did it. I broke free of like the people who were telling me what I had to do and telling me how to run my life, and you really get to this place of like empowerment for the government to come in and tell you, actually, no, we own your business and you're closed. Right. So that hit me kind of like emotionally different, I guess. Like I took it very personal in a way. Yeah. And then also my clients, you know, because so many clients, they tell me like, oh, this is my time for myself. This is my time for my mental health. And I was like, you know, the girls are gonna lose that. So it was like a big emotional thing for me, I think, as far as a loss goes. Financially, it turned out to be a blessing, because the studio is so small that we don't really have like the space for the clientele that I used to have. Because at my old studio, I would get like 40, 50 girls sometimes, and at this studio, we're maxed out at like 20. Right. So as soon as I was done with like my motions, I try to do like a brainstorm of like what to do, and I know that on my website that we have live stream. So the next day I started working on the live stream, and I launched it, I think, like in 2 days after the shutdown happened, and it just took off. Like we had over 100 subscribers, and people were telling me, oh, I'm doing your class from like New York, and so it turned out to be a big blessing in that way. And I did get unemployment later, and that helped me out a lot, because I want to open a new studio. Nice. So all the money I've been getting as far as like government assistance, I've just been saving it. And we're negotiating a lease right now to get a bigger studio. Oh, that's dope. Yeah, so I just try to like take advantage of it. But I think the hardest part was just not seeing the girls. Right. And not being able to leave my house, because I think when you're alone with your own thoughts too much, it tends to get negative. Right. And that was like my biggest part of that. And then I was also worried about like my dad's former addict. So that was my thing too. I was like, man, like all these people who are dealing with addiction are going to be stuck at home now. And we saw that have like affected me and my boyfriend's family. So I think it was more of like an emotional toll on us than it was financial. But yeah, I've been keeping in touch with all the girls, and we all talked, and they went through it emotionally for sure. But
so how you kept them intact for us emotionally? Did you talk with them like every day or every other day, or how did you communicate? How did you communicate? If they call you, they talk to you and just say how everything going. So you were sort of like a therapist to them.
Well, I was more of like an Instagram conversations and stuff, like me, because they saw how much I was posting about my thoughts on like the lockdown and how it affected people mentally. Right. And I posted like some things like, if you want to talk, I'm here for you, like physically, you know. So I did meet up with a couple girls just to like, you know, it's like, if you want a hug, I'll give you one. I don't know how you feel about coronavirus. Like, I'm not tripping on it, but I feel like you kind of need that touch sometimes, you know. Right. So I was just trying to like put it out there, like, I'm here, you know, like if you want to talk to me. And besides that, it was just Instagram, like
Right.
keeping in touch, sending videos and result pictures, and just kind of like the normal stuff we were doing, but without that face-to-face interaction.
Face to face.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the toughest part, man. I know while I was going through the pandemic, man, like it seemed like a blow up in my face, man. Like it hit me so hard, like, man, I can't do this, I can't do that. I feel like I was complete shut down, and people just walking around like zombies.
Right.
You know, they didn't know what to do, and they were mentally drained.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I started gaining weight, and
Mm-hmm.
just from being in the house, you know, and not doing nothing. I mean, fortunately, I was still working because of my other job and everything, but still, though, just be mentally drained and seeing the chaos on the news. And I had to start watching the news because there was so much shit
Right.
going on. And I was like, man, I can't watch this. You know?
Yeah.
It's just negative shit going on. And it just hurt. You
Yeah,
know?
a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the people that was affected by it, you know, sort of like your situation as far as businesses closing down.
Forever.
And
Some of them.
yeah, forever, you know, and that's just hurtful. And they ain't getting no type of assistance for it.
Mm-hmm.
And people need that, man. Some people had to move out
Yeah.
of California because
I
they
heard
can't
about
afford
that.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We were talking about it for a little bit too, just because, well, like specifically LA County, it's just hard to have a business there. The taxes are really high, and I got an email recently that taxes are going to go up for sales tax, so that I have to increase my prices on the girls, and I don't like to do that, you know, like we like to keep the prices low
Right.
so everybody can come to the classes, but everything's going to have to, just to keep the business going, we're going to have to increase prices. I don't know, like most business owners who love their business and their clients don't really like doing that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, I see you do a lot of fundraisers too, because I participated in one of your fundraisers last year in Mississippi.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and everything. So, what type of fundraisers do you like? You know, helping out on?
I like fundraisers that go directly to like specific people or specific organizations.
Right.
Because when I used to work at Pizza Hut, we used to do like this fundraiser for I forgot what it was, like some big organization for children. And this customer, because we had to ask them, like, would you like to donate $1? And this customer just schooled me, like, oh, you know, this money doesn't actually go to them. They get 15% of it, and the rest of it goes to the corporation.
Right.
So always keeping that in mind, I was like, okay, well, I want to give money where I know it's going direct to a person or to kids or something. And the last one I gave to was the Dream Center, because they were giving out free meals for the kids who weren't in school, because a lot of kids were depending on their schools for lunch.
Right.
So I didn't know that. So I like those organizations where you can actually see the receipts
Yeah.
of like where the money's going.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that a lot as far as your charity work and everything. I applaud that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely applaud that.
I want to do more, but
Yes.
we'll get there.
Yo, you will get
Yeah.
there. You'll get there because today's society, man, everybody needs a helping hand right now.
Yeah.
You know, and as far as your women empowerment, you know, you do a lot of speech as far as empowering women. You know, how did that come about as far as empowering women? You know, women with low self-esteem and don't have the confidence to make it. You know, and you're empowering them.
It was like I think it started just because people started asking me for interviews, and
Right.
I hadn't really like considered myself like a voice of women empowerment yet.
Right.
But people were asking me like, oh, can you speak on it? And I was like, oh yeah, like sure, you know, like
Right.
I wasn't really sure what to say, but I've done a couple of talks since then, and I think the best advice I can give to women empowerment is to not focus so much on being a woman as far as just being what you want to be, like
Right.
without having to identify with your gender. You know, like people ask me what was it hard for you as a woman, or like what struggles did you face as a woman? I'm like, I don't really know. Like I feel like it would be the same struggles as a man, like saving money, getting my business license, and building up a clientele. Like I wasn't really sure how that would be different as a man or a woman, you know.
Right.
So I think the message is always just hard work. Like focus on the work, because if you put the work in, then you're gonna get the results, you know. And people will respect the work that you put in, regardless of if you're a man or a woman. Like if you have a great product or you have a great service, great customer service, then you're gonna get the clients.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
I do believe that.
yeah.
Still, at the same time, like there's been a lot of bias and discrimination for women that have had great products and worked hard. I mean, it's real. I mean, it's really a good piece of advice for it to not be a distraction for the person that is building something. At the same time, though, I mean, if you just don't allow that to distract you from your work, then it'll work. At the same time, you have to be aware that these things are out there. Mm-hmm. Like, being a woman could create something, and you need to be aware of possible like microaggressions because you're a woman, or being treated a certain way because you're a woman, and people might not expect you to be as outspoken or as good as you are, because that's the true thing. You know what I mean? Right. You know, I think it still is legitimate to acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just my opinion. But you're right though. Like, when it comes to like focusing on your product, because you got to make it good no matter what.
Right.
Man or woman, just being a person, in general.
Yeah.
I think also too, like with those microaggressions, like, because I've had people come up to me, like guys at the gym, you know, this guy like threw me off. He was like, I didn't expect you to look how you look and be the way you are. And I was like, well, what does that mean? He's like, I thought you would be, can we cuss?
Yeah. I was
Girl, what you talking about?
He was like, I thought you would be a bitch. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? And he goes, oh, you know, because you're a good-looking girl, and, you know, he's like, I didn't expect you to be nice. And I was like, well, I'm a kind-hearted person regardless, and I'm a hard worker. Because he was, I don't know, like, his whole energy, I didn't appreciate that. So I definitely know, like, how that feels, too. I think that's why it's so important to fall back on, like, okay, but I'm doing good, right? Like, regardless of what you're saying, like, yeah, I'm a nice person, and you know, my business is doing well. So I think that's the best way to protect yourself against those microaggressions is like just your portfolio of work. You know, like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? But I do get stuff like that pretty often, actually.
Yeah, I mean, being aware of those, because and that was in a social setting. You know, over the years, just the knowledge is power. That's all. It should never be something that you should ever use as an excuse. You know, and that's really good advice. You know. And that's cool. Like, yeah, I mean, the male gaze is like taking over way too much. You know what I mean? We're trying to like grow out of that, you know, where that's the only gaze and everything's dictated by that. You know what I mean? So, you as a woman, as an entrepreneur, and using that as the baseline, saying, I'm going to focus on like being great in what I do and take my gender out of it. You know what I mean? Out of the conversation. Is great, but once that conversation comes up, you're gonna have to stand up for it.
You gotta be ready for it.
You know
what I mean?
So,
yeah, you definitely gotta do it, man. Definitely gotta do it. But yeah, man. But right now, I'm ready to get into some bullshit.
Some bullshit.
Yeah, I'm ready to get into some bullshit. Some bullshit up in here. Some goddamn dummy ass shit. You know what I'm saying? So in this segment, man, we like to call this segment "You Big Dummy." Cause we gotta give the people that energy, should just being the dumbass and saying dumbass goddamn remarks. And this goes to two people. Actually.
2 people?
Yes.
Yes, it's a new segment.
Yeah, a new segment.
Can we cue up that? Can we cue up that audio?
You big dummy. Yes, you big motherfucking dummy.
You can't hear you don't have your headphones on, but
yeah, exactly. So, and this goes out to the former CEO of Cross Fitness, Greg Glassman. Sound almost like Classman.
Greg Glassman.
Classman.
And it's not.
Klansman?
Assman? It's Greg Assman.
Assman or Klansman? Which one is it? Oh, did we just mess up his name?
No, it's Glassman.
It's Glassman?
Yeah.
Okay. We're being disrespectful on purpose.
You know what I'm saying? For his remarks on George Floyd's passing, let me just read it out. When the Institute of Health tweeted that racism and discrimination are critical public health issues that demand an urgent response, he gonna tweet out it's the Floyd 19.
What?
Yep.
Hold on a second. Let me just get that again real fast. Yes. Because I would love to unpack this nonsense.
Yes.
It's Floyd 19.
Yeah, it's Floyd 19.
Wow. Yeah, he's a big dummy. Yeah, it's. I think was he trying to be funny though?
Okay, so basically, what he's saying is he wasn't. It was really his comment. He said it was a mistake. He wasn't trying to be racist or anything like that, but
I hate
he said
when
it's
they
no
try to
longer
backtrack like that, man.
Yeah, because this is the thing. It's
yeah.
no longer so it's not COVID-19, it's Floyd-19. Like,
Really?
that's some asshole shit. Like,
Yes.
wow. Okay. So
Then he gonna try to apologize for it. Said we should mourn do the mourning of George Floyd.
we shouldn't do what?
Mourn.
Well, no, he didn't say we shouldn't, but he said the CrossFit community shouldn't. Like,
Shouldn't,
no,
right.
why do they have to mourn for George
Yeah,
Floyd?
why they have to?
Like,
Okay, so
Let's include him.
we need something to we need to say something to that perspective. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, more than likely he's not listening to us, but you know,
You never know.
hey,
you never know. So,
Yeah.
so when George Floyd was murdered, slowly tortured, then murdered.
8 minutes, 46 seconds.
8 minutes and 46 seconds. So he actually knew he was going to die during that process. I think it's really important for people to be delicate, you know, and understand that an outrage is legitimate. It's legitimate because it's a human that was tortured and murdered and it was videoed. And then there's so many people that are desensitized to it and are also tone deaf. And it's really powerful to see large organizations posting and jumping on this wave. Because honestly, this is currently a wave, and we're working to keep it going so that the conversations can keep happening, so we can become better. So a revolution is not violent; it's peaceful. You know what I'm saying? So, for him, you know, he's clearly of an age, that believes in what's called like a white normative society.
White supremacy.
It is white supremacy. I love how you like break down my candor like that, bro. Like I try to be all nice about this shit, and then you like, nah, fuck it. Like it's white. You know what I'm saying? But that's why we make a great team, right? So, but yeah, like he's and that, the problem with him is that at any age you can make a difference and you can change, and he needs to realize that. And yes, he should step down, and he should be.
And he lost a lot of endorsement deals, man.
He should be whiteballed,
Yeah.
and I don't use blackball anymore. He should be whiteballed at this point. And he should use the voice that he will have, because he's still gonna have that voice, and people are still gonna listen to his platform, because now he has made a spectacle of himself. Right. So hopefully, when he says something again, he doesn't come out of his ass and try to be, you know, dumb funny or whatever the hell it is. So, you know, hey, look. You know, there's always, with this digital world, there's always an opportunity for him to try to fix it. Otherwise, he'll just, you know, be an asshole forever.
Who owns it? Who took over now? As far as
Dave Castro.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, hope he's if he's a dummy, hopefully he's secretly a dummy.
Yeah.
Because CrossFit is so much bigger than that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
CrossFit.
CrossFit. It's a big community, and we welcome every race. It doesn't matter what your race is, your sex. It doesn't matter. We're like an open family thing. So I don't get where he's coming from. This it's a personal thing. I mean, CrossFit is. I love CrossFit.
Yeah, he started a wave, is what it is, and he doesn't own that
Right.
wave. You know what I mean? And so this is the thing. We could just put him in a small box and just like completely ex-nay that guy. You know what I mean? I think that's what's important. I don't do CrossFit, but I do understand CrossFit and like yoga are like these big like fitness cults. Is what I call them.
Fitness cults. Move to LA. Everywhere I go, I see CrossFit.
When I was in Dallas, it was immense too.
Some type of track round.
People competing while working out, like it's like a race to work out. Like I was like, whoa, you guys are working out though. Like,
yeah, for time.
But is this a sport too? Like working out is now a sport. Okay, great. You know what I mean? That's the way I felt about it. But these people are some of the best athletes I've seen. Like the games and it, like the way they run. It's like they got to do 100 push-ups, then go do 50 pull-ups, and then go do whatever. It's like a triathlon constantly, or whatever.
Yeah, they almost seem like CrossFit and weightlifters.
Bodybuilding? Oh, they have like some shit together.
Yeah,
cross shit.
You said you call it cross. They call it
cross shit.
Cross shit. Yeah.
First of all, CrossFit. If I had to choose, I would choose CrossFit over bodybuilding, because you guys know my opinion on it.
Yeah.
I think it's an overly glorified beauty pageant, and that's just my opinion. Now, and the funny thing is, there's people that we respect that do bodybuilding, that we do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not talking about her in particular, because she's incredible,
Right.
and the work she does is incredible.
Right.
So like, I'm not even saying anything, but that's just my opinion. I think CrossFit is more athletics, and I'm just an athlete. So
I like both. I mean, I like any kind of fitness. It doesn't matter. Dance. It could be pole dancing. It could be CrossFit. It could be bodybuilding. It's all fun. I mean, as long as you're having fun, I think that's a
I'm the same way.
good thing.
Just leave the other shit out of it, like far as the medication, steroids, and all the other shit.
That's
kind of
the
the
only
issue.
thing.
That's why I call it a beauty pageant, because it's not. They add on that extra stuff. They always juice in, and the drugs involved in it is tough, man. Like they put their whole health at risk a lot of times.
Yeah, and I heard steroids make your dick grow. So y'all take notes on that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I heard from plenty of guys and all that shit that they did it. So and no homo. You know what I'm saying? So
We don't want that.
Exactly. So next up, on
Who's
the
our next
goddamn
dummy?
Big dummy list.
You big dummy.
I don't know how to pronounce this guy's last name. It sounds like a ball of Pepto Bismol. Mr. Ray
Cicerelli.
Cicerelli.
Cicerelli?
Yeah, Cicerelli.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NASCAR guy.
mozzarella. Oh.
Mozzarella.
So mozzarella.
What
Is he Italian?
He's say it again. Is he what?
Is he Italian?
Oh, well, the name is probably
Cicerelli?
Italian, but
Yeah.
he's a white supremacist, so.
Yeah,
Put
the
that
reason
out
why
there.
we call him the dummy of the day because he is a NASCAR racer. He's formally quitting after NASCAR is banning the Confederate flag. But he's not doing it on his own issue. He's doing it because other influences, which I'm baffled by. If you want to stand by something, stand by something. Don't bullshit around. You know,
Right.
I mean, don't do it because other people saying they feel bad about it. You know, and I don't even know this guy. The only NASCAR rider I know is Rich Hamilton. That's
All
the
right.
only.
And
I don't know
Bubba,
him.
like he's the
Yeah.
he's the black one. Bubba, he's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
He was on ESPN the other day, and he's really good. And he was part of the drivers that were going for this. So like saying like this flag, like and the information that they put out is that like originally they would just say, hey, can you guys please not put it out, like and a lot of people would just fly that flag. So now they're saying like we're banning it. Like if you are, it's like if you bring a certain thing, like if you bring a firearm to a sporting event, they're gonna kick you out. Like now if you fly this flag during this sporting event, they're gonna kick you out. The thing is that flag actually represents everything that's not American right now.
Exactly.
So to glorify that is not to glorify the history. That's a convolution. That's a twisted narrative to say that, oh well, this flag, I just want to fly it because I'm from the South and I want to. No, actually, no. You if you're from the South, you can say, yeah, I'm from Alabama or I'm from Mississippi or from Texas, and those states have flags. Okay, so if you're from South Carolina has a flag. Fly that flag. You know what I mean? But if you're flying a Confederate flag that's actually against the Constitution that we've all been born into at this point in history, you're representing the history that was there. You're glorifying the history that was before 1863.
Yeah.
You're representing that,
Yeah.
and that history is disgusting.
Yeah.
So like you know what I'm saying? So, and this is what he said. He said, well, it's been a fun ride and dream come true. But if this is the direction NASCAR is heading, we will not participate after 2020 season is over. I don't believe in kneeling during anthem, nor taking people right to fly whatever flag they love. Okay, taking the people's right to fly whatever flag they love. I could care less about the Confederate flag, but there are people that do, and it doesn't make them a racist. All you're doing is.
See, you can't even read it right, man. It sounds like bullshit.
Well, no, it's not well written. This is the
Yeah.
thing. All you're doing is fucking one group to cater to another, or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, and I ain't spend the money. We are to participate in any political BS. So pretty much what he's saying, he sees it as a political. He said everything's for sale. Sarah Cicerelli. He's seeing it. So this is a natural thing that happens with people that get defensive about the past of like he was also lied to, and a lot of white men that are 50 were lied to about the history. They were told that it was glorified, and they weren't told about like how black soldiers didn't receive a GI Bill, you know, after World War I or II.
Right.
You know, there's not a lot of information out there, and so a lot of the information that he was probably told by, you know, his father and grandfather is that like America's great and we did what's right and people work for what they need and get what they, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
However, it wasn't like that for everybody. You know what I mean? So, and it is a political thing for him, you know, and no one even said anything about. I guess the kneeling is like what he just has been seeing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just because, you know, a kneeling was not about disrespecting a flag. Of course, it was
I'm
about.
tired
Anyway,
of talking about
done.
him.
I'm done, dude. I just wanted to share some knowledge with people.
Yeah, his last name making my stomach hurt. So.
Actually, it sounds like an Italian dish, Cesarelli.
Cesarelli.
Yeah, I might.
Sounds like Petra Bitch, man.
I'm like, how?
Sounds like a stomach, like.
My stomach bubbling right now. Just letting
Yeah. So sorry, Ray. We don't even know who you are before this, but we won't care after this, I guess.
Exactly,
So be it.
you
big dummy. Oh, but this is the flag, right? It shows that they have. Okay, yeah. The image that on their website showed how it was flown before. It was flown pretty predominantly. Yeah, it had the American flag. Then under the flag was a little smaller flag, and it was a Confederate flag, and then usually under that is a Trump flag. But you know, that's just natural. That's the way that works. Yeah, those go together.
That was a good segue.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
Are we there?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. This is about that time, man. We about to get into the motherfucking shits. You know what I'm saying? This is a discussion we talked about the most controversial discussions on this podcast, man. So,
Yeah.
Miss Karina, you're on the hot seat.
I'm
So,
Yeah.
I guess it was a couple weeks ago. You know,
Was it a couple?
What?
No, maybe a week and a half.
Week and a half?
I feel like it was like maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
posted.
Yeah, she went on IG Live and posted why she became a Trump supporter and everything. I mean, she got her own, you know, personal beliefs as far as her perspective and everything. And when I listened to her, I was like, damn, not Karina. You know, and unfortunately, I unfollow her. I'm petty like that. So, like I said, I unfollow you and all that. But she did reach out to me, and she talked to me, man.
Hella respect.
Yeah,
Hella
that was
respect.
real respect. She didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
For real. I respect you a lot for that, because that was just me and my damn pettiness. And all that.
And I got petty too, because I said something on your IG. We had a whole conversation.
Oh, really? I know.
That's you.
remember now.
Oh.
I was incognito until now. I was
Yeah, you
incognito.
have like a blue shirt in your profile picture.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't
Dare.
even know. It's Dare.
It's Dare.
Emerson.
Yeah.
So at Dare Emerson.
You know, but she gave her point of views on what's going on and gave her perspective on why people are supporting Obama and why she supports Trump. You know, but I want you to talk on this discussion. You know, and what made you turn around from hating Trump to not liking Trump?
Yeah. So, I really didn't know, like, I've never really been involved in politics
Right.
until the kids in cages thing happened. Because, you know, like, I am passionate about, like, charity work and stuff.
Right.
So when I saw the kids in cages thing, I was, like, livid. Because I'm Mexican, you know,
Right.
Mexican-American. And they really painted this picture of Trump saying that all Mexicans are rapists. And I heard that, and I took it for face value, didn't research it. And then I did that fundraiser for the Immigrants Alliance Fund, which I think was great because they do need legal representation. And then coronavirus happened. And I don't know if you guys saw all these like Fall of the Cabal videos that were going out, but it was basically like all these conspiracy theories talking about how there's a shadow government in the government that's called like the deep state. And that Trump,
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and that Trump is supposed to be like the first politician to tackle on this deep state issue. So that was like kind of like the beginning of like, okay, well maybe there's something more to it. And then friends were sending me videos, And then I looked up Latinos that support Trump. So I was like, okay, if there's Latinos that support Trump, there has to be like why, you know?
Some type of connection
Yeah.
to it, right? Yeah.
So what I found was that the whole policy of the kids in cages actually started during the Obama administration, and he like the zero tolerance policy is what they're calling it. It's not zero tolerance. So what they do is families come in, or their families, and what these traffickers are doing is bringing over kids who aren't their kids to use them to get in the border. Because what they used to do is see a family and be like, okay, it's a poor family, let's let them in. And then around that time, the U.S. became the #1 hotspot for human trafficking. Yeah, so I didn't know about any of that when I was saying, you know, open borders, abolish ICE. And now doing all this research, I think that as Latinos, like, it's hard for us to accept that our people are the ones selling these kids in the United States.
It
Yeah,
happens.
because that was hard for me, you know. I was like, why we should abolish ICE, and we do this and we do that. And then I saw this girl, I think she was 14, and she had been sold like thousands of times to different men. And they just really go into the detail what happens to these women at the borders. And I started following all these Latino pages that are for strong borders. And it's because of what's happening to these women and kids. So that's been a big part of the reason that I've come to support him, is because he's really like putting a lot of money and effort into this human trafficking issue. And there's like the stories are just, they're horrendous, you know. I think they're pure evil, like to do that to a child and then to videotape it and sell it. And when it's my, you know, my ancestry of people that are the kids that are in these videos, like it's just, I don't think there's anything more evil than that happening in the world right now. So that was a big issue for me. And then I started following a lot of conservatives, and they're talking about the community empowerment that he's brought into these communities using opportunity zones and funding like education, and I didn't know about any of that, you know. So there's been a lot of policies of his that I've been looking into specifically that support communities. And then you have this group of conservatives telling people of color they're using your emotions to get you to not support Trump. And it's funny that you bring up the Confederate flag, because I recently watched a video of young Pharaoh.
Okay.
He's on YouTube. So he was saying that the Democrats were actually founded the KKK because the Republican Party was founded through mostly African Americans.
Very true.
And they were getting all this political power. And then the Democrats came in and said, okay, let's start terrorizing these people. And although there's never been any specific connection, like on paper, to the KKK, they were specifically going after black businesses and politicians.
Very true.
Yeah, so they were really terrorizing these people to get into this Democratic Party, and then they became the party of the people. And I think that we've been stuck in that for so long. Like, I definitely was like a hardcore Democrat because they're
It's different
doing
now, though.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not the same. And as a matter of fact,
No.
I know what you're talking about, and the only reason I know this because my sister-in-law is a politician. And she's
Oh, cool.
yeah, but there's before the Civil War, there was a lot of people, also more than just one group, political group. The name itself hasn't been indicative of what it's stood for more than 50 years. So politicians join and they make changes. The government has made changes, and the name of a party actually is kind of just lip service to what needs to be done. So even though, Democrats were on the other side of racism for a long time, and Republicans weren't, now I think it's more of the sense of like progressive and conservative. It's more so what we're talking about, like ideology. So that we don't distract people from what's right or what's wrong. Because at this point, if we're talking about Republicans, air quotes, which I don't care about either one, conservative people are more Republican now. They use that term. And conservative is like maintaining the status quo. Like, you know, the way things were is the way they need to remain, you know, whereas a progressive perspective is like, we need to get better, you know? And so I think the vast majority of Republicans over the last, uh, like 100 years or so, like, since since after the Depression, Great Depression, have definitely been about people having opportunity or them having like no government involvement, but they've also been the head of like voter suppression and about and also the what I call and I learned this from Tim Wise is a white normative society where yeah, we can let them go to our schools and do the things, but we're gonna definitely like make sure that these opportunities are definitely more geared toward us as white people, and this has happened from like redlining in neighborhoods where they put people in a certain part. It happened big. It was in L.A. massively in the '60s, but and other things like that. So I guess my question is like, what community thing or community programs has Trump put in place that you know of, like off the top of your head?
Yeah, as far as
I think there's two that are very important, and the first one is the prison reform bill. So it's funny they say that about the Democrats being progressive because Biden, he actually put into place this bill that gave the max penalty for nonviolent crimes. And after that, we had this.
When was that?
I think it was 94.
Yeah, that
So
was
we
94.
had- yeah.
And so in 94, that's not, not 20. I guess when was Barack Obama elected? 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely,
So and he's definitely had the most exonerations under his presidency of black men that were falsely accused. And as a matter of fact, in Texas alone, had the most falsely accused black men in the nation, and they were the most were released between 2008 2016. And Biden was the vice president at that time, and in the 90s. Black folks were like had a veil over them. Most, not just black folks though. Like we're talking about Latinos as well.
Yeah.
Had a veil over them because there were certain businesses that were flourishing. So, and also we get painted with a broad brush, right? So when you have an opinion right now, like you do, people, well, not people, some people, like mostly white people, will say, "Oh, now you speak for all Latinos," or if he's speaking, or if I'm speaking, now I'm speaking for all black folks. Like, and that's not the case. And so, and during that time, there was a misconception that was the case. So they were like, "Oh, like, look at Oprah. Hey, look at Jordan. Like, this is what black folks are, or whatever." And so black folks start to like aspire to these certain leaders instead of what they really wanted to do. And behind the scenes, there was, the results of the war on drugs, which was awful, and they were still like dealing with the remnants of that. And so there was like the 3 strikes and all that trash, and yeah, and Biden, yeah, those are all a part of that. There's a lot of white politicians that are a big part of that, and black politicians that were not knowledgeable of like, or fully knowledgeable of the history because they're just trying to get in.
Right.
But now is not the time for that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that they provide an opportunity to show an evolution of thought. You know what I'm saying? From like 94.
Yeah. So in 94 he passed that bill, which led to the mass incarceration. And
Well,
then,
there was already mass incarceration before. 13th Amendment is actually what caused mass incarceration, because up until 1960, I believe there was like more of an even divide of people that were incarcerated in the United States. After the 13th Amendment, that was when actually it was overly, and then the war on drugs created an overly disproportionate amount of black, and I guess I'll say brown, but I want to say Latino people that were put behind bars. That was when it happened. In 94, they were just still there. And they were still, those laws are actually from there, just to be quite honest. I mean, that was just, icing on the cake, if I can, you know what I mean?
Okay. So that bill, it did lead to more mass incarceration, and Obama had all this time to do this prison reform, which he never did. And then it took Trump to come in to do this prison reform bill, and it freed 100,000 people, which 90% of it was African Americans. So he freed 90,000 African Americans, and then that led to all these new opportunities for them to get employment and things like that. And there was a lot of stories of women, especially, who had been in jail, and I saw all the videos of them crying and saying, "Thank you, Mr. President. I thought I was going to be in jail for the rest of my life." And studies have shown that when you take a parent out of the home, especially a father, that you're 20 times more likely to end up in prison. So I think putting all those fathers back into the homes and allowing them to raise their children is a big part of community empowerment, especially when it has to do with them dropping out of high school and not getting an education. So I think that's a big move on community empowerment. And the second one for me was opportunity zones. So he specifically put these investment opportunities into the most impoverished communities where we could have $100 billion in investments into these communities. And I think that's a really good thing because I live in Downey. And most of Downey, it was always like all these old businesses, and I know that we have like a sentimental place for them, but we shouldn't have to go to Long Beach or to Orange County to get health foods and like better hospitals and stuff. So I think those two were the big ones for me, the opportunity zones. And
what is opportunity zones? Like, can you define that?
Yeah, so basically what it is, it creates incentives for private businesses to come into the most impoverished communities. So one of the things they did was remove the capital gains tax. So typically when you're a private investor, you go to these metropolitan areas where there's the most people and, you know, people are making higher income and you want to be in those zones. But creating these investments for these impoverished communities, it allows these people to see this as a better opportunity for them, which allows that community to get, you know, better businesses, better jobs, higher employment, stuff like that.
And just before, because we ain't got that much time left and everything. I mean, congrats for if Trump really did that, because I don't know.
Yeah, I had a question though. Yeah, I mean, go ahead. I'll let you go.
Yeah, you know, but my thing is, as far as the whole issue and everything, my thing is, I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I'm for the person who's gonna do right by this country, and I don't support a person that goes around far as, how can I put this?
What are you referring to? What event are you
Are
referring
you talking
to?
about the way he talks?
Yeah,
No, not the way he talks. Not
and
for
division.
I'm not even talking about the way he talks.
You know, trying to divide,
the
the country.
Right, yeah. So
Yeah.
I talk to people about that a lot. And I think that we don't hear the things that he says that unite the country. And we create this narrative, like this media that's owned by all the same people, that's supported by George Soros, who wants China to be more powerful than the U.S. They're really trying to convince us that this man is racist and this man is evil.
I mean, have you heard his remarks though?
Yeah,
the stuff
I
he
definitely
says?
have. Yeah.
So how is it? How could you say that? How is? Give me some evidence, because I'll give you mine of like obvious racism. Have you ever experienced racism before?
I'm not sure if I would call it racism, but
Okay,
yeah.
so I'll explain it to you. So racism can be in the form of, like, you know, microaggressions. It can be in the form of like complete disregard for what is necessary to do. And as a leader, to lead the people, you got to care about the people, and I think that's, you know, common knowledge. And there are things that clearly that Donald Trump cares about. And the main thing is money. And there's a lot of black people that love money and Latino people that love money. And so he's going to fall in alignment with that. Okay, that's not going to be a problem. What I'm talking about is racism, though. So racism, I'll give you an example of his racism. Supporting white protesters, wanting to go back to work, and then not saying anything about protesters or actually
In
more
other
so
words,
speaking
when
out
losing
against
stars and shooting stars.
Right, when he speaks
that.
out against protests for police brutality. Okay, there's no support from his cabinet, and this is a product of what we call like white privilege, because they have no idea why it's happening, so they just don't say anything. And that's like kind of like just the generic racism that just gets passed down, because it was passed down from Fred Trump. We already know, because he said he doesn't rent to nigger people. He says that, and that's completely, we already know that. A lot of people that work for them said that he said that, and Donald Trump was his apprentice for a long time. So what do you say to that?
Are you talking about the white protesters for the coronavirus? Or what white protesters?
Was it reopening, right?
Yeah.
Coronavirus, yeah.
So I think that's a false statement, because I was one of those protesters. I went to several protests regarding going back to work. So I don't think we can say that it was just white people at that thing, because I was those places. And I think the main difference was that he was okay with a peaceful protest. But when you're burning down buildings, especially in communities where they need those businesses, it's a lot different.
It wasn't just in those communities. So like in Minneapolis, a lot of people spoke out and said that this is legitimate unrest.
So what did he say specifically regarding the peaceful protest?
Nothing.
Are you sure?
He said nothing about George Floyd's protest. He actually called in the National Guard, which is completely pointless. How come he didn't call in National Guard when
the National Guard is run by the governor, so it would need the governor to call in the National Guard in that state.
And so
but he was
persuading this to happen.
Yes.
It's just what I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
So, but I mean, and that comes from like unbiased, like, because I actually don't watch like CNN or anything or MSB and NBC, mostly from PRX and NPR, but and then other outlets. But I've read them all. Like I even follow Fox News just to see what they have to say. But that's what I'm saying. Like there's nothing that he's publicly out saying, and he's very, very public about his opinions. Why is there nothing? And then also the narrative of Colin Kaepernick after he explained why he knelt for the flag. Right. Why is that an issue?
Yeah,
and it was about police brutality against black people, which is an actual thing. Yeah. And how come he didn't say anything about that?
I would have to look into if he didn't say anything about George Floyd, because I really appreciated the fact that he put the FBI on the case. He put the Department of Justice. Because I know if it would have been up to Minneapolis, they would have said, like how they said, it wasn't asphyxiation, it was something else. He was.
That's actually not what happened. The actual right after it happened, before even Donald Trump said anything, it was the mayor that openly spoke about it, near tears, saying that there has to be an investigation, a conviction, and when the FBI gets into it, that's they actually don't want the FBI to get into it because they want to handle it themselves.
I think it was better for them to take it at the federal level because it shows an example to the nation that we're not going to tolerate this anymore.
But how come he wouldn't speak? Because the presidency is a figurehead.
It took him 2 weeks to just speak on the George Floyd
Why wouldn't he say
situation.
anything? Why,
I think you have to take some time and like really get all the facts. And I would honestly have to look into if he didn't say anything because I feel like that's probably not true. I find it very hard for him. He
holds public press conferences all the time, and he's on Twitter. Why do you have to search high and low for him to not be a racist?
I haven't looked into it, so I'm sure if I pulled it up, I could probably find something.
Okay. I mean, man, I wish we had more time.
I wish we had more time.
Yeah, I wish we had more time to discuss this.
Honestly, I'm happy to come back another time because I think this is
she's gonna do her research then.
Yeah. We're gonna set another time and everything.
I think these conversations are very important.
Yeah, dude, this is so good.
I mean, I appreciate your beliefs and part of what you do.
We really respect what you've done as far as the training.
Everything.
Oh my God.
Like I said, I respect you for coming through and everything. Love you and everything. Good friends forever.
We do,
and that's our episode of Locker Room Talk, man. So we ran out of time. Let's get these games. Yeah.